Are we live?
Hold on a second.
Please stand for the pledge. And remain standing for a moment of silent meditation to dedicate the moment of silence of meditation to the victims of domestic violence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri for the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. I'm going to jump right in with Mrs. Hines. We have a presentation tonight. Mrs. Hines, a bit about 9-period day, some school-wide and enrichment information that we want to pass along to our Board of Education and school community. So Mrs. Hines is going to take us through. I may jump in and out, Mrs. Hines. I apologize.
Well, and Ms.
advance.
Trombetta needs to jump in on that too, because she's been my partner in crime in this, but
Thank you.
I do like a good presentation, so I'm happy to chit chat. Thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity to talk about our 9th-period day next year. We are extremely excited as we've been building up over the years for this opportunity. And so tonight we're just going to walk you through where we're at the moment. So right now, NYSED does require 990 hours of instruction a year at the secondary level. We did have a waiver for a number of years, but now it's expiring. So Dr. Pelletieri threw in there, which I agree, more school, yay.
Yeah, I wrote that. I don't know if the
Yes.
kids feel that way, or everyone else, but so they don't,
They don't.
Sarah? That's shocking.
But they might be after they see all the different courses
Yeah,
we're going to have.
exactly.
So again, we're ready to implement our long-awaited 9th period at our secondary schools. And generally, this will allow for additional support classes to assist our students to take more rigorous courses and or update our electives based on student interest. So in the fall of 2018 and spring of 2019, the district took some first steps towards equity programming for all. If you remember, we gave a presentation back then around Frost Valley and opening up that trip for all 8th graders, as well as our conversation around moving towards more access acceleration for algebra and earth science. And I just have down there below, I'm not going to click onto them because they are on the district website. You can look at those past presentations. We also just wanted to just share a connection to our Board of Education goals, because everything that we do, of course, should connect to that. So goal 2, enhance student achievement, quality of instruction, and leadership skills. So we will, through this process, we will continue to establish consistent curricula. Any of our new courses, we will be creating new curriculum for assessments and always looking at engaging instructional practices K-12 focused on our data. We expect to continue to deepen our student engagement and provide opportunities for rigor through these opportunities that we're going to be sharing. We are also going to look to expand our exploratory world language at the 6th grade and our CTE exploratory units grades 6 to 8, more experiential in those classes. and provide equitable supports for students in need through our IST process and also our additional math and science periods that we're going to share. And all of this will be rooted in, again, our benchmarking that we will be doing 3 through 8. And we're also going to be looking to do it in our high schools for our special needs students, ENL students, and our at-risk students. So where are we now? So Ms. Trompetta and I have met with our directors, building leaders, and chair people to elicit potential courses with the goal, again, of supporting all students to take higher order classes as they go into the 8th grade and move up into the high school. And why do we want to do that? Because the sooner you take Regents exams, that opens up more doorways for you in electives and pathways when you get into the high school. We also want to have more exposure early on in our middle schools for civic readiness, our CTE, I'm sorry, I keep saying CTE, that's our career technical education pathways for folks at home, and college and career prep. And then just overall life skills. So that's like, how do I organize myself, time management, dealing with emotional stress, etc. And then through our 9th period committee, we met already once for the first time. We reviewed all of our proposed courses to elicit additional feedback from those folks. We're in the process right now of them looking at all these courses again and gathering more information. And Curriculum Council, which also met this week, we also will be a partner in this planning process.
Mrs. Hyde's parents have seen some of this as well?
Yes. So we'll talk about some next steps, right, Dr. Pilteri, our last slide. Okay, so Allison, I might need you to just hit that for me. This is our sample K-12 bell schedule. While we're talking with the 9th period at the middle school and the high school level, this does affect also our elementary schools, as we will need to essentially start about 10 minutes early at each school. So if you're an early or you're a late building at the elementary schools, Dr. Potter, I'm going to need you to just read that for me up there.
Well, we'd be starting 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah, about 10 minutes
Not gonna-
early. And again, once this, tonight we're proposing this, we're asking the board for feedback as we continue on collecting feedback from everybody. But once everything really is finalized, this will of course go out to all families, parents, students, so that they can see all the changes that are being made.
And some of that is because of busing, right? We have to move
Correct.
kids throughout
Yes.
the district. So when the day is longer, it impacts our busing. And
Right.
that's why
We
it impacts
need our buses to get
elementary.
from the different levels of our schools. Okay. We can move on. Oh, that's okay. I got it there. Okay, if you can just click onto that. So this is a little hard for everybody to read, but we are going through all the different subject areas and what we've proposed so far that we're looking to do. So on the ELA level, we are looking to basically have what we're calling a humanities research course. And that's really to just prep all of our students as they come into the high school. If they haven't taken a Regents or an AP class just yet, this would be the class to prepare you with skills for reading and writing around all of those areas so that you could be successful in that. We're also going to have SAT and ACT prep half year for the English piece. Then we move into social studies. We found a pretty cool elective from our new AP at North. And this is a history of American sports. Again, kind of cool elective. When we looked at our electives, I don't think I said this before, CHM has well over about 45, 46 electives. And so our goal wasn't to add more electives, but to really gather interest and retire maybe some of the electives where we don't have as many students sitting in those classes, because then we can't run those classes. So while the title may be great, if there isn't students sitting there, we don't run it. So we really wanted to make sure that we were gathering interest around that. So history of American sports definitely played in. We're also looking to add human geography. Now, we have human geography, but right now it's generally in the 11th grade. We're looking to bring this down into the 9th grade because it is thought to be an AP course, that if it's your first entrance experience taking an AP course, it should be one that all children pretty much for the most part can take. And so our plan is to help those students through English and social studies in the 8th grade to prepare for this. And this, again, we're not saying all tomorrow, but over the course of the next couple of years, we would want to build the skills in our students in our middle school so they can hope to take this in place of a typical social studies 9th grade class. When we move into math, again, SAT, ACT half year for the math now. We're also doing an introduction to computer programming with Java, Python programming. Again, those are 2 half-year courses that would be for the full year. AP Computer Science, Practical and Financial Math. This is that kind of math course where I'm done with geometry. I've gotten my credits that I need, but we don't want students to just not take a math course. Of course, we would like them to continue on to Algebra 2 Trig, but if that's not the place for them right this particular moment, then this would be the course for them. This is that practical and financial math, so I know how to run my own budget. I know how to do just those things that in life you need to understand and have that for. And then this one, our math chairs were very excited about. This is truth seeking through data science. So this is almost, sort of looking at like, how did COVID become? Where were those numbers? And tracking and using those numbers, again, as a life skill to be able to understand statistics and how that works in life. World languages. As you know, we have students who are English language learners who are predominantly Spanish speakers, and we would like to be able to give them that credit so that they can get that seal of biliteracy when they graduate, and this could also take the place of an English credit for them. Science, we have a plethora of electives and very strong science classes, so at this time the science department felt very good about what we offer right now, so it's going to remain as is. Our career and technical education. We are actually going to retire international business and personal wellness, but instead we're replacing it with entrepreneurship and culinary. These are some classes that we already have in place and some additionals that we'll be adding. This is something that Ms. Graham, our director of school counseling, will be working on, as an application has to officially be approved at the state level. And we will continue to look at additional pathways. This joins now some of the pathways that we have already, which is Cosmo, carpentry, etc. Special education, very excited about this. We have something called a PAYS lab at North presently right now. We are adding it to East. And basically, this allows our special education students in ICT, 15-1, etc., all the way up into our 12-1 classes, who can really get some life skills around holding a job and or career as they move out into the world, whether that's both college or career. And we're not talking just learning how to stock cans, but really understanding what it means to work for somebody, work at a cash register, be able to log in your time, really manage your time. It's very exciting for us. We're also looking at anatomy and physiology. One of the science courses that we were offering was not something that our students in particular in these classes felt like was very attractive or engaging to them. So anatomy and physiology, you're learning about your own body, you're learning about all the different processes in your body. So we thought that that would be a really nice elective for them instead. And then last, again, really proud of this. So excited that our chairs brought this to our attention. Right now, we have a number of students that go out to BOCES for basically like a culinary kind of program day, which is lovely. But we do, and we have over the past 2 years, have incorporated garden beds in all of our schools. And especially at our high schools, they thrive. And we're looking to instead do a farm to table for our students so they can remain here in our schools. So that's very exciting. And then just ancillary, we are looking to do professional development for all of our special education teachers at some point, and or an offering of a workshop for those that want to start now for ASL, so that we can incorporate that into our lessons and help students who may want to learn that, but not necessarily take it as an official language. Art, we are looking to creative crafts. Again, this is an elective, looking at all the different electives in our art. This was one that the kids really loved. And so again, it will be official for our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And then we also have,
Life design.
thank you, life design and wellness. This is somewhat like almost like an art therapy. Kids really learn wellness and meditation and other de-escalation practices while doing artwork. We actually had this at our superintendent's conference day pre-pandemic. It was amazing to watch. I actually went to it myself, so I'm really excited for our students. And that will replace an art credit. In PE, We are looking to, on both sides, offer yoga and wellness as a PE credit. So again, very excited about that for our students. In health, while we're not offering additional courses, our health staff will be working on our seal of civic readiness, as many of the lessons when you come into the middle school and high school really start to help students advocate for themselves, work with governments, look for ways to really make a difference in the world. So they're going to partner with our social studies and our English around that. And then this is for our middle school. Just want to pause because those are some really great classes that we're adding. Very excited about the things that we're doing. But in our middle school, I really think this is becoming a game changer for us. In order for all of our students to be able to access all those different courses, realize who they are, be able to take these higher order classes, these different pathways, we really thought long and hard about how do we prepare kids to do so. So going into the middle school in 6th grade, we will now have World Language Exploratory. So we brought it down to the 7th grade 2 years ago. Now it will come down to the 6th grade. And that will be 3 quarters in a year of the different languages that we offer, which will be Italian, French, and Spanish. And then that 4th quarter, we will be looking to do some like an enrichment for one of our our career technical education units that we're looking to do. So again, each year the kids are getting exposure, they're hearing about the different programs that we have, and then they can really think to realize that as they come into the 9th grade. We're also looking to do with the 6th grade, a success prep. Basically, it's a class for a quarter around organizational and study skills. And so again, these are really important for 6th graders. When you leave the warm nest of elementary school, sometimes it could be a shocker for our 6th graders when they come in. And we just really want to make sure that they are prepared for more independency, not falling off the map, that they just have to do everything on their own, but do I understand how to take notes appropriately? Do I understand how to manage my time, studying, all of those different things. But a big thing for us really, again, to support our students as they go into those higher order classes is we are going to have now math or science, or math and science every other day in 7th and 8th grade. So we always have a period every day for math and science for our students. Now they will get a period and a half in 7th and 8th grade. And in 6th grade, they have a period right now, a period and a half of ELA. They will now additionally get it in math as well. So essentially, our students for all 3 years will get a period and a half of math. 6th grade, they will get a period and a half of ELA. And in 7th and 8th grade, they will get a period and a half of science. And so what is the goal of that? The goal is that they will continue to learn the skills so that if when they go into 8th grade, they can hope to go right into algebra and earth science as we have it now, thus opening up more pathways, opportunities for them in high school. Okay. Okay, Dr. Pilatari?
I'll jump in here on this part and just showing you some of the proficiency and mastery levels in terms of our school and our regions. This is a math page. What I really want to highlight here is kind of some numbers. When you look at, for example, Algebra 1, you have 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021. Again, very small numbers because we didn't have a lot of kids take the test. But if you look at just 2019, for example, you see in algebra, we have 1,100 students take algebra. In geometry, we have a little over 1,000. But when we get to Algebra 2, we're down to 777 kids. And my concern is we lost 400 kids. And where did they go? And that is something that I want to highlight and make sure that we continue to discuss and look at. If you go to the next one. And so in science, we kind of go through a same type of thing here, even more so. Again, if we look at 2019, we had 1,100 kids take earth science, 1,100 kids take living environment. As soon as we become now where we're at a point where we can decide what to take or not, with that, we lost 400 kids in chemistry. Where did those 400 kids go? And then physics, the following year in physics, down to 322 kids taking physics. And that's a concern that I have, that we are not challenging ourselves with the most rigorous courses of study we can. And also, what courses are those students taking? Where are those students going? What's happening with them in terms of their rigor and preparation for that next step, which is college or career? Some go to AP, which is wonderful. They're in our AP courses, and you can see here their enrollment. And again, the point here is our numbers. If we look at Calculus BC, our numbers are going kind of trending in the wrong direction. AP Stats, a great course. Kids find great value in it, and that's trending in the right direction. We want to continue to see kids grow in AP. I'd like to see more kids take AB. I'd love to see more kids taking BC as well. We want to get more kids into AP. And one of the ways we can do that is, again, with this 9th grade human geography course. And I'm sorry my back is to many of you, but once we get them in that kind of sense and track of AP with the 9th grade and recognize that, hey, I can do this. My family, this community, we have an expectation I can do this work. And once we build that, I think kids rise to that level, and I think we'll be happy to see the results there. So that's another reason why we want to try and utilize kids again in that course of study in terms of AP. And that's what colleges look for. They look to see that you challenge yourself in the most rigorous course of study. Now, this is something longitudinally that we have to worry about, and we need to work on. And as a community, it's something that I want us to address as we move forward. So this chart looks a little bit odd, but we went back 4 years to 2017, because in 2021, kids would have graduated from college if they graduated college in 4 years, had they graduated high school in 2017. What this tells us is, in Sachem, of all the kids, of the 100% that go to college, 45% of them are graduating in 4 years. And 2 other districts you see here have a comparison which is slightly above ours, 51% and 53%. We didn't put the names, but these are districts that we like to compare ourselves to and we talk about often. But
We can like make up names.
make up names?
Momac. I said we can make up names like Momac. Two Village.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Mrs. Hines, I didn't know you were gonna do that. Okay, is there another slide like this, or is?
No, I
ahead.
think what we were trying to express is like our hope is with the 9th period, we would see that more students have the opportunity and feel that they can handle that.
So yeah, let's look at. Oh no, go back.
Oh.
Year 5. More kids across this nation are graduating college in 5 years. It's a fact now. So we can accept that fact. In year 5, we're up to 57%. But these other unnamed districts are at 68 and 75%. That's like, this is Sachem, right?
Right.
We're getting there. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. We want to continue to push. And one of the ways you do this is by offering kids courses in high school that can get college credit. And we talked about this when we looked at some of the college-bearing courses, the college credit-bearing courses we offer, unfortunately, about 10 or so fewer than these
Yes,
other districts
unfortunately.
around us.
Yep.
Kids should have a blended model opportunity. Not everyone's going to take it, and that's fine. But for kids who want, I have found that there is more of a opportunity gap than an achievement gap. So we need to offer more opportunity for our kids. That's a goal behind this 9-period day. And this is an exact example of that. And why do we want to do that? Yes, Mr. Icerny.
Chris, I'm sorry, just go back that slide.
Go back to that.
Just-
Erin wants to get off that
just-
slide, but
Oh,
keep
sorry.
that slide on for a minute.
Just so
trying
I
to keep it going.
understand and interpret this correctly. So our graduates of the class of 2013 who began attending a 4-year college in 2013, in September 2013, approximately 6 in 10 of those graduated 4 years later.
Mm.
And how do we gather that information?
No, this is saying that kids that went to school in 2013, this is not just
No,
4 years.
let's
This
graduate-
goes all the way back. These are kids that, so if we go at 2017, 45% of our kids graduated in 4 years. Of those same kids, it was at 50, in 2016,
Okay,
57% of them have graduated. Of the 100% that graduated in 2017. So it took 5 years, it took 6 years, it took 7 years. Is that right, Mrs. Hines? Am I reading that correctly?
No, I think that was the original slide that we had looked at, but what we were looking at here is,
You changed the slide on me? I studied that slide.
I
Mrs. Hines.
might have, yeah, sorry.
What I'm thinking is 2017, they just graduated in 2021, 45% of our
Yeah.
2017 just
Correct.
graduated.
This is their cohort year. So if, like that's the year that they had graduated, but now that's how many students would have, right?
17 just graduated college, 45%
Right.
of them just graduated.
45% of those who were accepted to a 4-year school.
Correct.
It could be 2-year too, right?
Yeah, it could be 2 years, yes.
Okay, so
Could be 2-year. It's mixed in.
how do we gather that? How do we?
So BOCES does, we have we work with, there's a partnership with the Suffolk BOCES, and they use the National Clearinghouse, and kids fill out a form when they go to college that says that they can submit their data to that National Clearinghouse, and then we have access to it. We pay a subscription for that. Not every child is in there, so that number is in some ways lower than would naturally be. Some universities, for example, Duke, they don't promote using that National Clearinghouse. So for our students that go to Duke, they may not be inclusive of this. That wouldn't be a great many to change the outcome, I think. But the fact of the matter is that those numbers are not where we want them to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the 45 and 50, that's all pandemic related. I'm sure schools closed. I wouldn't even use that year.
That dropped down without a doubt. You could see much more consistency in the other years.
Right.
Without a doubt. But still, 57 compared to 68 to 75 is something that we want to see rectified.
Yeah, Mike, I think the point is that Satcham's lower, right? Our
Yeah.
goal is to get it higher.
I thought I was trying to understand this.
No, without a doubt, Mr. Cerny, we said the same. Like
Okay.
2017 is kind of challenging, but if you look at 2016, I think that's pretty representative. Even 2015, like it doesn't really change
Yeah.
that much. And our thought was too, is to really break it down now by also special needs, ENL students, socioeconomic. Like, are we targeting? Are we really helping all the different types of categories of students that we have?
Well, that's why I was asking that.
Yeah.
So my interpretation is correct. That year 2013 is our
Yes.
June 2013 graduates.
Yes,
6 and 10 who attended college graduated 4 years later.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. They did change the slide on me. I apologize.
No.
Thanks, Mrs. Hines.
Okay.
Yeah, just one question, Chris. The schools that you're comparing, the yellow and the blue school,
Yeah.
are they in comparison, are they similar in size and socioeconomical?
Yeah.
We did, to be honest with you,
Because
Mr. Scarborough, we
that can
didn't.
definitely impact the.
Without a
as
doubt.
well.
Yeah,
without a
no,
doubt.
I don't think we were looking at this and my apologies. We weren't looking at this as more of a deficit. We were looking at it as we're 8 periods and these 2 school districts are 9 periods with all these different offerings. And so if we're now moving towards that, our hope is we would see that rise, and with more detailed attention with the NWEA, more looking at all the different subgroups and making sure that each student has their need to be able to go into that. Yeah. So this wasn't like, they have more, but honestly at the time they really did, right? They had an entire extra period and you saw how many courses we've been able to add. And so that was the thought around this.
And when you multiply that 42 minutes times 180 days, it's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of
So,
time.
It's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. If you're comparing us to districts that are very affluent.
Oh, no, yeah, and again, we can put other districts in there. The idea was we talk about certain districts, and so I wanted to just kind of show that. I don't want it to be lost in the fact that we can do more and will do more with this
Yeah.
additional time.
well, yeah, I was going to say, you won't know now for a couple of years if this starts to trend back up, right?
Of course,
Because,
it would take some
kids going into
time.
9th grade next year are going to get the full benefit of the 9th period. The kids
Mhm.
going into 12th grade next year are only going to get the 1 year benefit.
So you got to go
won't-
back to 6th grade next year.
Yeah.
So,
Right, incoming 6th graders, right. Okay, thanks. I didn't mean to stop you.
no.
no.
I'm glad you did. Good point of clarification. Go ahead, Mrs. Hines. So when we talk about the decisions that we make and why do we make these decisions, well, we look at research, right? A lot of times we go with our gut around these things. I did this because I thought it was what we should do, or I've always done it, or that's how we do it. But we want to look at research, and here's a piece of research. Again, this is older research, 2002, but very pointed in terms of what we're doing in terms of kids having any real success in the workplace or college. They must engage regularly in more rigorous, intellectually challenging work. And this went on to change, this research changed California's approach to high schools and an evaluation of their diploma, because they felt that, again, are we preparing kids well enough for when they get to college and the workplace? So this is an older bit of research. You can find a lot of research on this, but this is one that spoke really to our point, I thought, and that is a live link. So when you go to the website, you can go ahead and read that. That's a rather long one. Here's another more recent study, again, high school success, post-secondary success. Educators and policymakers keenly aware the need to prepare students increasingly global society. High school diploma is not sufficient. Secondary responsibility to prepare students to be college and career ready. Again, let students, families make that choice, but let's prepare them for both. And there's a positive relationship between high rigor courses and college success. There's no doubt about that. And that's why we want to open up opportunities, have more kids take more high rigor courses and push our students in that direction. And at the same time, I got this email yesterday, which I thought, this is why we changed one of the slides in there that I knew about, at least, was this one, which we added because the state themselves are looking at their own graduation measures saying, hey, we need to evaluate our diploma, what it means and what it prepares kids for. So we're not alone, certainly, in doing this work.
All right. So some next steps with our ninth period committee. We will be looking at some sample schedules that we've asked our administrators to craft for us, Ms. Trombetta and I, of the various categories of students that we have. So we really want the families to see what a schedule could look like if my child's an ICT, self-contained, an English language learner, if I have speech services, if I'm taking 2 different music options, etc. We're also going to survey our secondary students to gather some additional feedback if they think that we've, are we on the right track here? Is there anything that we're missing?
We keep making decisions for our students, right? They need to inform some of our decisions as well, a
Absolutely.
lot of our
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to tap into them.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate. We have some students who are on our curriculum council on our diversity, but certainly that's not enough feedback in terms of how many students we have. We're going to solidify the bell schedule and busing, right, Mr. O'Keefe? Want to make sure the buses get to where they need to. We have to consider staffing needs then, right? Like once this is all settled, how many new staff members might we need? And then curriculum writing, of course, for all of our new courses. Thank you. If there's any questions at all.
Any questions from the board? Sarah?
So my daughter wanted me to ask, will seniors still be allowed to come in late next year, late arrival?
Your daughter wanted you to ask that, huh? Is she representing several students or just herself? Yeah. So we actually met, we were up at East today. We did a fantastic walkthrough. It's been wonderful this year in that I visited so far about 10 or 12 schools.
12,
and not just visited, but walked through classes, data, and really had some great conversations. And today we talked about that. And Patty, we did say very carefully, right, that we would allow kids to.
We're
Go ahead.
allowing children to, seniors, to come in one period, the late arrival or the early release, but there is conversation about making sure.
I think you broke it, Patty.
We're having conversation that if a child wants to come late or leave early, they have to take at least the 4 major content areas to do so.
Yeah, one of the things I just want
Wanna
us
say
to
that right,
touch
Patty?
upon, and
Yeah.
that may be a bit of a culture change for us a little bit in terms of our seniors, flying out to go to work or do some other things like that. And let's make sure we're still taking that senior year of math and that's science to really prepare ourselves again for what's next, whether it's college or career.
Yeah, right. We see the correlation for Suffolk community. If a child doesn't take in math in a couple of years, 2 years, maybe even a year, that could really bring them down the road of deficit as they go into college.
Ms. Slattery?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hines. And again, the presentation yesterday, a curriculum as well as this, very informative. Some of the concerns last night that were brought up were the communication with parents,
Yeah.
like to make sure that parents are aware of all these changes and the different courses that are going to be taken, offered. And again, for parents to work with their student to have input on that. So will these courses be able, like, for a parent to look at, see different alternatives, and besides just the student discussing it with the guidance counselor, they also have input from their parents?
Yeah, I'll start a little bit and then I'll have Ms. Trombetta share out as well. Yes, so obviously this was our first step, right? Wanting to come out publicly and share our proposed thoughts about that. Once it's solidified, we are doing scheduling right now. So students are in the middle of doing career course fairs and looking
Right.
what might the possibilities be next year. But our intention, our focus, our vision has been really being more transparent with our parents and our students at an earlier age so they could see the pathways. So updating our guidance handbook, making sure that there's visuals for the different pathways. And then obviously scheduling is a little bit earlier on. And I'm going to ask Ms. Trombetta to just talk about that for our students.
So we are going through the curriculum fairs right now, and at North just completed theirs today and yesterday, and it was amazing to see. The students are having more of an opportunity to speak with the teachers that are actually going to be teaching those classes, learning a lot more about it. They're walking around with their Chromebooks. At North alone, 722 children yesterday chose classes, an additional ninth period class. And then today, another 254 entered more course selections. We
Great.
changed the curriculum nights because in the past, it was more for our 8th grade parents going into 9th where there's not that much choice yet. So now it's more for the high school kids and their parents, so they are aware of all the different options. And what Mrs. Hines touched on, and we're trying to elaborate more in our handbook, is the different pathways. If you're not good in language, you don't have to take that language. There's many more pathways you can take with still getting all the credits needed and the opportunities to take the AP classes. So
Right,
it's
and I
just
think-
educating more.
Educating also the student as well as the parent that there are the
Correct.
different pathways. And that goes back to like the honors or AP. You know, sometimes, especially in middle school, a child is recommended by a teacher for that, you know, not really giving the option if they want to push themselves. You know, I can only speak from experience. My son, Michael, was going to be slated for high school to be in a 12-1-1. I wanted him to take Regents. I knew to advocate and to push for that, but maybe not every parent does. And maybe some kids want to, you know, excel or push for the APs, but they're nervous. So if they have somebody in the school to talk to them, you know, to say, listen, try it, see, I think you can
Mhm.
handle it, especially now with COVID and kids still being quarantined. Kids feel like they're losing a lot, and AP or honors classes may seem very daunting to them. We need to, you know, make sure they know they have support, or when they're quarantined, that they're getting the instruction that they need. Otherwise, they're going to take the easier path or not want to challenge themselves because they're going to be too afraid. And I think that's where, you know, it's important for communication and guidance to roll this out. Thank you.
Pat Bauman, and then we'll come back to Mr. Reynolds.
Hi, Aaron. I just,
Hello.
on that chart, I don't see too many like 15-1 or 12-1, but 15-1 in particular. So the anatomy and physiology class, like, is that a mixed grade? It didn't say a grade on it. Is that a mix?
Yeah, that's kind of just our overall notes, but it can be a mixed grade. Yes, absolutely.
And will there be other choices for the 15-1s, or is the idea to integrate them into all the other electives?
Well, they have a plethora of them right now. This was just
I meant
really
for the 9th period.
right. This was just to like update what the course offerings are for them already. But we're talking about, you know, as we had said, we want those students, 15, anybody to want to take those higher order classes. So because of how many courses we have to have next year and staffing, we're going to start next year by having after school review courses. If you know, right now we do that typically around like early spring, but we're going to start them as early as the beginning of the school year, so that if a child does want to take a higher order class, but they need like almost like a lab of support for that, we would have that for them.
Yeah, that would be really common
Yep.
in two.
And then each year, obviously, we
Village.
build into the schedule more of Dr. Pilateri's vision of having a lab for every type of you know, higher order math or science course needed.
Thanks.
Reynolds?
No, thank you, Ms. Hines. Great presentation. Just a comment. Last night I attended the curriculum night at Sachem East, and it was great. So the parents were
Oh,
with their
you and
children.
I was walking around. I got lost with all the parents.
Okay. Yeah, it was a great night.
It
And we
was.
got a chance to speak with the teachers, with my daughter there, understand
Oh,
what
great.
was, you know, what was being offered. So are we going to plan to do something like that once we solidify, perhaps January, February, or what's any thought about that? 'Cause
Yeah, I think, well, our part of the charge, I think, of our ninth period committee was, you know, what, now that everything's finalized, what kind of communication do we want to put out there? Obviously, we have some idea from us at the district level, but what would parents really need to hear? We'll obviously come back and do another presentation. We would think parent workshops, sending out, we could even post videos. We can send out obviously things through school messenger. I think we need to really just deluge everything everywhere so everybody understands what's going to be going on
Yeah,
next
I
year.
dragged my daughter to the business department, right? but they had something about, social media marketing, and she was with two of her friends, and they all perked up about that, right? So it's things that they like. So,
But I
Great.
just want to give a big kudos to Miss Johnson and Miss Pesh who worked on
Yeah.
this with Miss
Great.
Graham. They really took our vision of like updating the guidance handbook, the curriculum nights. They put QR codes, which our teachers in all of those departments made videos
Yeah.
so that you could
good.
actually see the course come to life. It's pretty amazing, as Miss Trombetta said.
Thank you.
So we all know that one of the reasons why students don't graduate mostly within 4 years is because they end up taking remedial classes in their first year. So what are we doing? I know we're talking about moving them into AP. What about those kids that need support so that when they enter college, they're not entering remedial classes and paying to take remedial classes?
Yeah, that is the main reason why kids don't graduate from 2-year schools and why they're not graduating from 4-year schools in time. They have to bulk up on remedial courses. And so that's why when we talk about kids wanting to perhaps leave early, and we're going to say, you got to take a math course. Like, we're going to start to change that culture, that thought process around not staying for a full day. And so one of the things we want to do is, yes, have kids in more math courses so they don't have to go to Suffolk, for example, and take an AccuPlacer when they haven't had math for 2 years, because that they're really going to
I
struggle.
mean, could you do like
writing is
course
an example of
teasers
that
so
as
these
well.
kids see what these courses are going to be like and get them excited about it so they don't want to leave school and they stay school?
This is
Just something to
exactly,
get them, just because the curriculum council, we spoke to a lot of kids there that they're not excited about school in these courses. I mean, many of them are AP students, and their concern was the workload, the stress, the communication, the excitement, the collaboration, and they're not seeing that happening, and they're just kind of going through the motion. So how do we get these kids excited about school, want to take these classes so that we see those numbers that we have 75% of our kids in 4 years graduating from a college.
and
within
that's
4
part of the
years.
conversation we had today over at East, and that's part of the conversation, yes, that we talked about. We showed there. Part of what we did at East last night and what we did at North today, and trying to get this information out there that we have these new courses, the new the high school curriculum guide that has come to life, that there's videos in there and QR codes, and the teachers are actually pitching their, again, all this new stuff really has to get out in front of our students to be talked about and create some. I'm very excited about the opportunities we're going to have for our kids, and we hope that we have to get that out in front of them so that they see that and share that excitement.
No, and there was, because I know that one person that said that you were getting all of this by just an extra period, and they were excited about that. But I just want to make sure that we're getting the students excited about it so they want to stay at school, want to take these courses. The next question I have is that, we keep talking about the NWEA, and we're using that data to drive instruction and help the students. Are we going to get that data? How do we see it? How these kids scored? Are the parents going to see it? Are we?
Yeah,
gonna see it,
there's
the
a parent
community?
report, and then I'll ask Dr. Pilitari, but we're not just looking at NWEA. We're also looking at our state assessment results, our AP results, graduation results, or what have you. But NWEA is progress monitoring, right? It's a benchmark. So that will be for our students at the high school, for all students 6 to 8, but at the high school level, it will be for the students who are not quite on grade level. And so the students that you're talking about who would end up in Suffolk still taking these courses that really, if we had helped them in the high school, they may not need to take those courses. So that's really the whole vision, is working with at-risk students, students with special needs, ENL students. And then again, if we have to build lab classes, things around that, we absolutely can. But yes, there is a parent report. That's Pilitari, you want to chit-chat
Yeah,
about that?
at the end of the year, there's a parent report that will show the progress or lack thereof throughout the year. And as we get better at it, we do more training on it. Our teachers just administer it the first time in the fall. They're going to do it again in the winter, and then again in the spring. And that's after that spring one. I think at the end of the year, when we give out the report cards and open the portal, we can also post in there the NWA results. And again, parents as partners, right? See those strengths and weaknesses of our students and give them some ideas about some things that they could work on during the summer.
Okay, and then the last question, because I saw it coming up, is the curriculum rating design. So are these programs and courses going to be curriculum, is it going to be written by our CHM teachers? Are we purchasing programs? What is going to be the plan for these? Are these ones that are already coming prepackaged and we're kind of just now going to put them into classes? Like how's the
Right.
curriculum?
Right. I think we've kind of talked about the overall vision for our district is we typically write our own curriculum based on the state standards. Sometimes we write it in teams at BOCES with other school districts. In terms of I guess, like programs, especially at the secondary level. Our teachers do write their own curriculum. This is led by typically our chairs or another facilitator under the direction of myself or whomever is leading in that department. We do everything on Google, and our conversation in all of our walkthroughs or what have you is not just taking a course, but making sure that it's active and purposeful and engaging. So again, moving away from that traditional curriculum to more hands-on, teacher as facilitator, students in partner work, project work. So that's been our focus. That is our focus in our curriculum.
And then how much time are the teachers going to be given to develop the curriculum? Because I know I've been given like 10 hours to develop a full curriculum, and that's just not feasible. So I'm just wondering about.
Well, we don't give 10 hours. When I first came to CHM, I used to get pink slips, which was basically, I did curriculum for 90 hours, but
Right.
yet I didn't see anything. I don't even know what curriculum people wrote. And just to be financially prudent with our budget, what I do is I post out, I make sure that everybody in the departments has an equal opportunity to join us for that curriculum writing. We then work with the chairs to identify who those teachers will be. They meet with myself, or like I said, whoever is overseeing that department with those chairs. We kind of give a charge. Are we all on the same page? Everything does go on Google, and I start in 10-hour increments because I do believe that there has to be some sort of, okay, I've done this. Let's meet. How's that going? How's that working for us? And so I've had departments where we've given that 4 more times, 5 more times. But we don't just give an open ticket to write curriculum for however many hours. And it is more flexible. It's not just in the summertime. Obviously, we need to start those courses now. So it doesn't matter to me in this virtual world. We meet together. Folks can go home, meet each other on Zoom. However, it doesn't matter. Google, you can share docs. But we do touch base every 10 hours. No problem.
Just a quick question I have, Eric. Thank you for doing this presentation. It was very informative. Question I have with regards to, you talked about the enhancements for CTE. Okay, and you said that you're going to bring culinary arts back.
Mhm.
Okay, is that going to be similar to how we do our cosmetology program, where the students are involved in a 3-period block, with they're receiving 400 plus hours of instruction? Or are they going to be a 42-minute period once a day?
So I don't want to give misinformation because we're just at the application process. We have a lot of these classes that are already here in our school district. We just need to actually put it together in a pathway application for the state.
Mhm.
And so I can have Ms. Graham share that information once it's been approved, how much time we're putting into that. But I would think it would be beyond a 42-minute period. I just don't want to speak for her.
Yeah, my concern is that, when you look at, BOCES, we have a kid for 2 hours and 40 minutes a day.
Right.
And when you calculate those hours, times 180 days, I do have kids that have perfect attendance. It's 480 hours of instruction.
Mhm.
What you could offer in 480 hours of instruction versus 126 hours of instruction, okay, such as there's a school district out east that offers culinary arts. It's 1 period, and that's their CTE
Okay,
program.
all right.
And it's not
It's not the
equivalent.
same quality, right.
You're sending a student to nursing school at BOCES, and they're getting 400 hours, 450
Right.
hours of instruction a year.
Right.
It's not the same as one period, 42-minute period, for the whole day, for the week.
Yeah, I'd agree, and we're certainly not looking to steal business from BOCES or
Well, I'm
anything
not-
like
that's not my
that.
concern, 'cause we listen. We did it with cosmetology.
Yeah.
We created something that was equivalent, if not
We wanted
better, if
equivalence,
not
right?
better. Yeah.
Correct. And
That
I
room
think
over,
our,
I saw that room this summer over at
But
North.
it's amazing. I think, the
Amazing.
thought is, and Mr. Scavo,
What I,
right?
what I
is
don't, yeah,
we want
what-
our students to be here if they
Yeah.
can be here.
What I
Yeah.
want to do is I don't want to take an
Water it
opportunity
down.
away from kids because, when they go to a BOCES settings, they're working in commercial environments. They're working in a commercial welding shop, commercial kitchen.
Mhm.
That would be very, very expensive to fund here in Sachem to be able to offer equivalent. With cosmetology, we had over 60 students that we were sending to BOCES. We saved $700,000 when we implemented it here at Sachem.
Right.
So the savings was there, but my concern is it going to be equivalent?
Equivalent, absolutely. So
my-
if you can just give us some time, and
Yeah.
I will definitely ask Ms. Graham on our behalf to just share some information, preliminary information for the application goes in, so we could share that with
Yeah,
you.
I said my second question pertains to that list. Is that written in stone? Is it done? Is there
No,
any
no,
room
no,
for
no,
enhan-
no, absolutely not. I mean, we've had some other, feedback from some other, constituents. We just sent it out today to the ninth period committee, which includes our students, everything else, for some additional thoughts of, are we missing anything? That student survey will go out again, and we'll ask if they can add anything on. So we're very much in the, this is what we're proposing.
Exploratory stage.
But
We're still in-
it's late in the exploratory stage,
is
right?
late.
Kids are starting to sign up for
The
courses.
only
so-
thing I'd like to throw in is that every year.
I mean, I don't think we've gotten any feedback by, oh my God, why are you offering that?
Yeah.
But I don't think we'd be opposed if there was an additional elective or something
I
else
mean,
that people
every
wanted
year
to
we would
see.
get students that would actually petition the board to actually go to what Nassau BOCES for a course contract, a course agreement,
Mhm.
to take theater arts. Okay.
Right, yeah.
And it's
yeah.
something that, these kids are very, very passionate about. And, something I saw under the arts and music is that there was no elective for, say, a kid that wants
Yeah,
to
and that's
do-
actually my bad. My
theater arts.
apologies. That was brought to my attention,
Is that
actually, Mr.
something that we
Reynolds.
could maybe throw up there and
Mhm.
maybe explore to see
So I
whether.
actually just sent something to Ms. Hines and Ms. Trombetta, a whole curriculum around theater arts
Mhm.
that was written by Sachem teachers.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I think that'll be discussed.
Yeah,
It's it's either classes or curriculum. I'll let you guys speak to it, but
Yeah, Mr. Antonetti met with a cadre of teachers who had come up with this program. So Ms. Trombetta and I are going to now review that, and that will be added on to the proposal list as well.
And then the last thing is just a question. As far as flex, we used to offer flex, and it would drive me crazy. Kids would go to school in first period, they were sitting in study hall. There's no flex built into any of our 9-period days? No
Nope.
study halls? Great, thank you.
Nothing. And lunch for all, especially on the middle school, unless in all 3 middle schools now, a child would like to take an additional music ensemble.
And one last thing, I was going to bring it up at the end of the period, I'm still in school. At the end of the meeting, I know we're going to be looking for some propositions for the Budget Advisory Committee to look at. In years past, maybe to enhance students, maybe take more AP classes. Years ago, we used to actually pay for the AP exams for the children. So if a student took the exam, the school district would incur that cost. We had to go away from it because of this fiscal stress that we had to endure during gap elimination. But, is that something that we enhance, or maybe encourage more kids to maybe take AP? And what I was going to propose to BAC, going a little ahead of myself, was, the feasibility and the cost associated. What would that cost us?
Were you at East with us today? I'm wondering because
No, I wasn't.
that's actually the conversation we had
Was it?
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember we brought that up again, like 17 or 18, I want to say.
he's mind
that
reading
you-
tonight. Can we tell him about theater arts?
He's mind reading.
Yeah.
That, well, we had remembered, it was brought to our attention, and I think at that time we just couldn't think about it, but boy, that would really help the students if we did. I don't want to
So that was
speak
one
for
of
the
things I
board,
was gonna
but
propose for BAC, but when we get to that, we'll
You could
talk about it.
propose doing like the first 2 tests or something also. So that could be a nice charge for that group.
And then, Ms. Slattery, you had something that you want to add about the cosmetology?
Yes, just in regard to the BOCES classes. So what people don't realize when a child or a student leaves for BOCES, if they're in sports or want to do a club, they don't get back in time to, so that was, again, my personal experience for Michael. He was on football and lacrosse. Every year we toured BOCES, and every year it was the bus would get back too late. So every year he was like, no. So if we could offer more, like you said, what we did with our cosmetology program, I think is even better than BOCES. And kids are in our schools, so anything, I don't want to take away from an experience they would have at BOCES and have ours be less. But if we can offer something similar and have kids stay, I think that could be good to get kids. Then they can be in clubs or sports and not feel like they're missing something.
To Ms. Slattery's point, the reason why I think a lot of kids got back late and missed, because we didn't have that 9-period day.
right.
So now by adding this 9-period day, does that change? Will students be able to get back in time? They wouldn't? Patty? They would, okay. All right, something to think about.
It's just something to.
Sure.
But
Ms. Waterman?
Regarding the farm to table, which would that be bringing the 12 ones back that are going to BOCES? So it would be different than like the ISLIP Career Center? Would it be more of like the students that attend?
we're
like,
saying
like, more
cognitive
academic?
disabilities because we were focusing on the 8-1
Mhm.
and 12.
So it'd be a lot different than our gen ed kids going to
Culinary.
culinary.
Right,
So
correct.
it's so those kids would still be going to culinary.
Yes, correct.
So, okay.
Yes. There's 2 different types of, right? There's the special education CTE BOCES courses, and then there's general education. So yes, thank you for saying
My
that.
biggest concern is I didn't want to pull back the kids from 2 hours and 40 minutes and give them
Of
42
course,
minutes
yeah.
and then call that or equal or equivalent, because it wouldn't be, So that was my, reason for that question. But any other
just-
questions from the board?
Yeah, just one more.
Sabrina?
Mrs. Hines has heard me say this numerous times. Just with the student schedules, again, with students that receive services, my gripe is pulling kids from lunch to receive
Correct, right.
services. Just if we could see a schedule of what that would look like for if a student has speech, OT, PT, that kind of thing built in their schedule, where would that fit and what they might have to miss out if they don't get that service during lunch?
Yep, absolutely. Our building administrators right now are making up samples for us.
Any other questions from the board? Aaron, thank you so much.
Thank
Patty, thank
you.
you so much for presenting. Great job.
Yeah, very exciting time. Thank you. And I'm going to just a couple more things, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mr. Scavo. Thank you. Last week, I had an opportunity to meet, to have dinner with the Music Educators Association. I got to spend time with many of our music educators here in the district and met some spouses as well. Not only are these fantastic musicians and educators, but even better people. And I'm just so proud of that group and what they bring to this district. And having spent time with them last week, it was really an honor for me to be able to do that finally. And really such wonderful people to know that our kids in the hands of, again, our music educators in that group, just fantastic people, even better people than the education they provide. Really nice. I wanted to give them a bit of a shout out and also mention that Rumors is being shown a play at East High School this Friday and Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm going to invite people to go out and make sure they get an opportunity to see that. I was invited to a friends and family presentation of the Sachem Marching Band. My goodness. Talk about it takes a village. The committee, what it takes to put that on, from the students to the parents to the pit crew, directors. It's just incredible to see the skill that went into that and how everyone came together to put on that performance. And I could see clearly why, last year they won the state championship. Just, again, incredible group. An honor to be with them. And I was there with some of our district folks as well and other administrators. Really nice to be invited and be able to take part in that. We have a Saturday enrichment program beginning. It's this Saturday, right, Ms. Hines? You didn't change that on me, right? It's this Saturday. Over 600 kids are taking part in Saturday school. It's fantastic. And lastly, next week is Thanks.
I'm sorry, I
Okay, you're stepping
apologize.
on my big.
No,
I was
I'm
building to something.
We'll send the enrollment report to everybody. I was just waiting for it to be finalized so that if the board wants to see as well by grade level.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. That would be for Saturday, yeah. And lastly, again, next week is Thanksgiving. Just hug your family and just, I personally, and I know we will have a lot to be thankful for. So I look forward to Thanksgiving next year, probably more than ever. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we are on approval of minutes, item F. Then motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd, Ms. Iserni, second by Ms. Swatter. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to visitors. We have two visitors that want to speak about the 9-period day in the AP, which is actually curriculum-related material. So we're going to call them up in the beginning, and then we have some speakers that it's non-agenda related. So we're going to do those at the end. So, Ms. Favara?
No, it is. Thank you very much for a great presentation on the 9th period day. I did want to bring up the AP and the push toward AP. I do think that something that should be considered is when you're looking at a GPA, not all colleges care about the credits toward AP and weight AP the same. So I think that part of the conversation needs to be what kinds of colleges are you looking at? Because tens of thousands of dollars in merit aid can really be affected by a low AP score, like your grade point average in that course. I know personally from my child that if she had gotten a 75 in an AP course and a 2 on an AP exam,
that would have been really bad and would have really hurt her in all of her acceptances to the kinds of schools, which were SEC schools, that she was looking for. She did not need those types of classes to move her forward at Sachem. And she did not have the kinds of supports that she would have needed to get 90s, 95s in those courses, where taking some of the Regents courses gave her much higher grades. Also, some of the colleges want 4s and 5s to even take the credits. And there's maximum amounts of credits that some of the schools will take. So I would like to ask you to look at more dual credit courses. A lot of the districts allow criminal justice as a dual credit. A lot of them allow ASL. For 3 years, you can get dual credit. Adelphi has that, and a lot of districts allow it. We don't. My son cannot take any language in this district with dysgraphia, so he's language exempt for his diploma. He could take sign language. He's not a good speller. He's got dysgraphia, for those who are special ed. I know we have a bunch of special ed teachers here. But if we had had a 3-year course in ASL, he would actually have a college credit at the end. We offer very, very few dual credit classes, but you have to be a good standardized test taker to get a high 4 or 5 on those AP exams. And you have to be a certain kind of kid to get a high grade in an AP course. You're talking about BC math. I want you to look at the average GPA of the student, of the 38 kids who took BC math. Those are not your average kids. So rather than try to get more kids in that class, maybe it's what kinds of other courses could we offer kids that give them college credit? The other thing is, around the country, there are a lot of schools that kids graduate with their associate's degrees. And my daughter, 2 of her roommates have their associate's degrees at University of Arkansas. They come from rural schools in Arkansas, rural schools, not some prestigious elite private schools. And they literally have almost 60 college credits. And they were taking AP courses, some were honors courses, but they were getting cheap, like from Suffolk Community College. And we don't offer anything like that with Suffolk. So I would like to look at alternatives to just pushing AP.
I'm going to say the words, I apologize. If that's what came out from tonight, I did not mean to push just AP. I'd like to see us take the most challenging courses of study we can take individually. So for different people, it will be different courses of study. But I want us to see each child challenge themselves and
Agreed.
get that opportunity.
But
to
I also
challenge.
think we need to look at it from like, what type of college are you looking for and what's the cost
Yep.
to, and I also think when you look at why kids aren't graduating in 4 years, why some take 5, I also think you need to look at financial. Did we choose the right school? And was there a big scholarship? What was their financial implications to why kids didn't graduate? So some of that, I
It's a
do
lot of
think
factors in
a
this.
lot of factors do, and even just changing your major.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of things to that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farrar.
So thank you for that presentation, Erin. Back in 2018, when I was a board member, I did start to advocate for the 9th period day. One of my driving forces was because there were tons of special ed students who weren't actually able to take a lunch. So while I do appreciate the push for more challenging courses, it seemed like, again, you just said this wasn't your meaning, but it does seem like we're pushing college. College is not for everyone. And we have to understand that as a district, and we have to take our CTE courses. And so, for example, like we give one at Sachem North for 3 periods of carpentry. We also give it at Sachem East. It's a lot more robust at East than it is at North. Those children that are graduating from the East program are more ready than the children graduating from the North program. Things like bringing in OSHA certification should be a must in those courses in both schools. Things like getting these children ready, job ready, because they're not going to go to college, and celebrating them in the same exact way that we celebrate our scholar athletes. And, you know, when our athletes sign a scholarship form, or When one of our children gets a scholarship for an Ivy League school, we celebrate that. Well, there's no reason why we shouldn't celebrate our children who are not able to go to college for whatever reason, and they're going into the workforce. So if they sign for a great career job, we should be celebrating that and having a ceremony for them as well. And then with the 9th period day, I also feel like it shouldn't only be about readiness for college, and actually echoing what Michelle said, that there's plenty of different colleges. Children are not so ready. They think they're ready for college. They go to a college and then they're completely lost. So I just feel like we need to talk to the students more. And it's not just the students that are in certain, student government, and because those are our students that are more astute, that will go out for these things. You need to talk to every student. You need to find that lost kid, that lost soul that's walking around, that's pissed off that we're giving 9 periods because now they have to spend more time at school. And you need to understand and find out from them what's going to make you more enthusiastic about school. What do you love about school? What do you hate about school? And the kids that are saying that they love lunch and nothing else, we got to find out why they love lunch and nothing else. Because that's how your cafeteria food isn't probably the best. So I just feel like it needs to be less college driven and more, everyone driven.
Thank you, Ms. Volpe.
Meredith, the lunch is spectacular. We do. I'm telling you, we do. Okay, but I get your point. Well taken. And you'll always hear me say college and career ready. And if you don't, you can call me on it, because I recognize that. Life ready would be nice. I'd like to be life ready, right? Okay.
Great. Well, it brings us to item 3, business items. We have a consent agenda 3A through 3D. Need a motion, please? Mr. Baumann, second, Mr. Reynolds. Any questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. It brings us to page 3, personnel items. We have a consent agenda A through I. Any motion, please? Ms. Pickowitz, second. Ms. Dicernia. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. We just have one recognition tonight for retiree. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cable Eden.
Good evening. On this evening's agenda, the Board of Education approved the retirement of Mrs. Mary Lou O'Boyle. Mrs. O'Boyle has dedicated her career to special education students and is retiring from Samoset Middle School on December the 1st. In an exit interview with her, she was so excited to talk about the opportunities her children, the students in the classroom will have, and making sure that her children in the classroom are prepared as she moves on. And we would like to congratulate her on her retirement and her upcoming move down south. Congratulations.
Okay, brings us to item 5, personnel. We have consent agenda A through J. It's going to bring us to page 10. A motion, please, Mr. Baumann. Second by Ms. Dicernia. Any questions or discussions on any of the items? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to page 10. Item 6, contracts.
Kristen, did you want to just do one there as well?
Did I miss something?
There's just another retirement.
Oh, there's another retirement?
Mr. Metzger. Very important.
Included on tonight's agenda, we have one of our longstanding employees in the grounds department. Mr. Metzger has been dedicating his time to making sure that our facilities in all of our 15 buildings over the many years have been safe and secure, and making sure that we have everything set for those days that there's the snow that anyone can't get in, for our safety and security of our students and staff. We'd like to congratulate him for all of his dedication and time here in Sachem, and thanking to him for all of the time he put forward to making our students and our staff safe. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Mr. Metzger is one guy I've never been able to shake his hand. John, you introduced me to him like when I first got here, the
Never
first
stops
day.
working.
He's never stopped working. He doesn't take his hands off the
37
blower
and a
or the
half
cutter or
years
the
is-
machine. I've never been able to get his attention. I try to wave to him. He doesn't even look up.
And sadly, in
Amazing.
2020, the Scope Award dinners each year are held here in Sachem. He was the Scope Award winner that year, and unfortunately, we weren't able to honor him in person. I had to give him his plaque literally in the building with nobody here because the district was closed during COVID.
He probably threw it in the back of the truck and kept working.
He probably did.
Right? Well, we thank him.
That brings us to page 10, contracts. Item 6, we have consent agenda A through E. In motion, please. Ms. Cerny, second by Ms. Wadua. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. All right. Page 11, item 7, Committee on Special Education, consent agenda A and B. In motion, please. Mr. Baumann, second. Okay, Ms. Isernia. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to item 8, monthly reports, okay, for board committees. Anybody want to report? Ms. Slattery?
Okay, on the legislative committee, so I spoke to Mr. Reynolds, and after the last meeting, so we have all the committee members approved, we're going to send down an email for a Zoom meeting, not for next week, the following week. We're going to work on a date to have all our committee members meet through Zoom, just to introduce ourselves and discuss the charge, which is going to be working with the PTA to host a town council with all our elected officials come the spring. I spoke to Annie Favis today. So she's our PTA council president. She is going to a legislative workshop this weekend for the PTA. So she's going to get ideas and things through them. And then collaboratively, we will work together and invite politicians and host, like we always have done here, open town hall with our elected officials. Vinny, do you have anything to add, or Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Okay. And then on, Monday, we had the curriculum council, which again, Ms. Hines touched on through this presentation on the 9-period day. It was great. Matthew Baumann, Sabrina, and I were there, and along with a lot of teachers, social workers, students, which I thought gave great insight as to what they're seeing. And, our social emotional learning program, we went into that, and the students expressed how important it is, especially with the anxiety after COVID, and how much they enjoy when it engaging, when teachers are engaging or they get engaged in their classwork, and the different things that they're looking forward to. And I thought it was really productive for our first meeting. Is there anything, Matthew or Sabrina, you would like to add?
I mean, we did that an activity about active and purposeful learning, and we got a lot of insights from the parents and teachers and the students, which was, helpful to drive decisions we make. We as a committee are going to come up with, from the board, a charge for that committee. And I know Laura and I were kind of speaking about it, what that could be. Mrs. Hines also gave some suggestions, which we thought were great. So going forward, we'll decide what the goal of that committee is going to be. Mainly 9th period, work in conjunction with the 9th period committee. You're good? Yeah.
Any other reports on any other committees? Budget Advisory Committee?
Yeah, just from the Budget Advisory Committee, last meeting, we asked the board to think about what we want to charge the committee with. We haven't gotten them together yet. We're waiting for that. One of the things we talked about was, is it the right time now to do a deep dive into the budget with Mr. O'Keefe's team? Just to start thinking about what are the expenditures we're going to have to account for with the 9th period day, things like that. So not sure if there's any other feedback from the board, but.
Budget Advisory Committee, charge. I mean, I jotted a couple of things down myself, Vinny. The things I jotted down obviously is probably going to be over a 2-year period. It's not something that looking at the budget and then taking all these smaller projects on. But one I mentioned to you was the AP classes. Okay, maybe looking at feasibility of funding those classes. Dr. Pelletieri said maybe the first 2. What would it cost if a kid took the 3rd one? Maybe we can get some historical data as to the number of AP classes our kids take to kind of get an idea as to what the cost would be to the district. Once again, we might be able to utilize maybe some of the monies from surplus at the end of each year to maybe fund something like that. But just to check to see if it's feasible. Second thing is, we used to have a very, very popular and robust community education program at one time. Our community education program was geared to serve the people of the community that didn't have children in the school that maybe wanted to take a class at night, possibly in photography, possibly in video production, whatever the case may be. The program ran for many, many years under Mr. Cruz, was the administrative trustee that took on that role over at Sachem North. Over the years, we kept the cost down on that program for our residents, but the one thing that we had very difficult time recouping was the fees for the clerical to be able to document and make those programs run, and then the fees, the stipend for the administrator. So every year we probably lost $50,000 or $60,000. We didn't break even. Okay, maybe we want to take a look at the Budget Advisory Committee taking a look at our community education program to maybe offer some of those core offerings for some of our residents that don't have kids in the school that could still pay taxes, and maybe want to get out one night a week or 2 nights a week for a different course, maybe at one of the high schools.
Okay.
So that that's going to be something that you'd probably want to bring in Mr. Cruz and talk to him as to how it used to run, and maybe look at the financials as to where we were as far as break even point. But I know that we covered the cost of the instructors, we covered the cost of the materials, but the only thing that we couldn't recoup was the administrative fee and the secretarial cost to be able to run that. And then the last thing I would say is, talking about bringing CTE classes back, God, I hope my employer is not listening to this meeting tonight, but we were able to save $700,000 by bringing back cosmetology, and I think we did an excellent job in making that program wonderful. I mean, probably even better equipped, new, updated facilities and labs than even what we have at BOCES. But I think there's always possible savings where we could bring additional programs back. Maybe the startup costs are not so expensive. Something like maybe criminal justice. We have a criminal justice teacher, and minimal supplies to run it. I wouldn't recommend bringing back a program that's going to cost us $1 million to build. Just to bring back 20 or 30 kids. But there has to be a certain number of kids in order to cover the cost of the instructor, the materials, and things like that. And I think there's some programs out there. Business and hospitality might be one of them. I think we offer that now, right? Do we still offer business and hospitality? But maybe as an elective,
There's a hospitality and tourism class, but,
Yeah. So that was something that was implemented a couple of years ago. But there are some classes out there that have a low startup cost. Okay. And if we're sending a lot of kids out, it might be fiscally, prudent to maybe look at the savings that could bring. So that might be another thing, if the board agrees with that, looking at those things maybe every year. Ms. Slattery?
So I do agree with what you had spoke to Mr. O'Keefe, doing a deep dive into the budget, because again, as member of the audit committee, and you sat in, 9-period day is going to be a recurring charge every year. We have to make sure we're generating revenue every year to cover that cost, because if we take from reserves or take from a surplus, you don't know that you're having the surplus every year. And if you take, no matter what your reserves are at, if every year you take from reserves to fund a 9-period day, eventually then you have no reserves. So anything that we talk about, whatever we're spending, we have to generate revenue on the same side, so it equals. So I think working with Mr. O'Keefe's office and doing something like that under his direction, along with anything else, but the community at the end, because I think I was on the Budget Advisory Committee when we actually, I think Jeff Kagan may have been on it with me, and we stopped because it was over 100,000 in the red at one point, and as we be hitting our financial difficulties to run a program that was costing, that wasn't self-sustaining. Like if we do a community education program, it should be able to be self-sustaining. I don't know if that's feasible, or if there are other districts that are doing it, that maybe we could reach out to, Smithtown, Middle Country, any other districts. I don't know, Matthew, Sabrina, they're doing it in Bayshore, Ward Melville, they offer that. I think a lot of schools used to do it and aren't anymore because the cost became prohibitive to make
Yeah,
it worth
a lot of it gets funneled through libraries now.
Oh, thank you, John. See, I didn't know that. So that's why doing it at the schools just became cost prohibitive. So to try and bring something back that again is going to cost a fee every year might not be something worth.
The concept behind it would be to charge enough to be able to cover all of the expenses. You know, that would be it. I'm not proposing that we run it in the red. I'm proposing that we look at the feasibility of running it where we're taking in enough registration to be able to cover the administrative costs as well as the
Right,
clerical
because then
stuff.
we would have to cover.
I would never. I'm not proposing running it in the red.
Right. A security guard when you run it. So we would need security in the building, custodial in the building, all of those things, which I think districts moved away from it because of the costs. And you want to make it affordable for seniors. So if they can take the course at their local library or community center or something for $10, they're not going to come to a school and pay a lot more. So I think it's something to look into to see what other schools are doing, what's offered at the library. And we don't want to compete with the
Yeah.
library either.
Like I said, it's just a proposal. It's something to maybe, if the board doesn't want to pursue that, then we don't have to pursue that. But
Yeah, so what I can do is I'll reach out to the Budget Advisory Committee. We'll schedule the first meeting. We'll run these ideas, see if there's any input, and we'll report back to the board and see where we go from here.
Mr. Attorney?
The other thing, I don't know if the Budget Advisory Committee wants to take it on, but working with John to come up with a presentation or a projection on a capital project to establish the e-sports suites and then what the carrying charges would be year after year on that. Okay.
Wasn't somebody getting us those costs? I think we were.
Well, you'd have to work with John and Jack Render and.
But aren't those costs going to be built into the budget?
Well,
I don't think those would really be much in the way of capital costs. I mean, you're buying computers, equipment, tables, chairs, fancy monitors, things of that nature. I don't think it'll be a sizable cost, but I don't think it's going to be a tremendous cost.
Is that cost aidable, John?
It's not like a capital project. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just regular
Computers
supplies and
and stuff.
It's just like us buying computers.
But there would be
just part of our regular aid.
Mike, you bring up a good point because I think when we had the presentation, somebody was tasked with getting us that information, right? Was it the group or? Right? And come back to us, right? So
there you go.
I can reach out I'll reach out by email to Carrie.
Well, I'm just saying, is that something we want to, the Budget Advisory Committee put together and present?
Listen, I think there's a couple of things on there that we can look at over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that would be great.
Any others? Mr. Baumann?
Well, just I'm going to piggyback back. I'm going to bring up middle school tennis again. I know we still all have to talk about it and see where everybody's head is at with it. I know I'm a tennis guy. What can I tell you? But yeah, I mean that could be something that the budget advisory, because that would be a costly project.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We're doing a survey right now to see what the interest is.
Yeah, Mr. Butel is running a survey. I mean, it would be a program that wouldn't be run at the middle schools. We would bus the 3 middle schools to North.
Yeah. So the only thing I did mention to Dr. Pelletieri is I read that in the packet. I don't know if that's a very useful way to make a decision about middle school tennis, only because we don't have a middle school program. It's not, you're going to ask a bunch of kids that have no exposure to tennis if they're interested in tennis or if they want to play tennis, where they may not really know a lot about tennis. So that's, I mean, again, that's my feelings, and I think we still all need to talk about it more. But anyway, I did want to mention the diversity committee did meet today for the first time. Unfortunately, I did have to leave early, and Ms. Waddle was there as well. So I don't know if Ms. Hines, you want to talk about? I had to leave early, so.
We had a really very productive first meeting. We welcomed new members, some new students as well. We went over the goals and what we had looked at last year. We also did an activity very similar to our curriculum council, where we broke up into groups and talked about a culture of care and what our students are really looking for when they enter into our schools. Because our goal overall, to be honest, is that with all of the things that you might see on social media, things that are brought to our attention, our charge, our goals overall has always been ensuring that our schools are welcoming and affirming environment for all. high expectations and rigorous instruction for all, inclusive curriculum and assessment, and ongoing professional development to ensure that our staff is aware of all the different types of categories of students that we have. It really was a pleasure today. We're looking again at our mission that we created last year, and we just kind of await a charge from the board. The suggestion was, though, again, to continue with inclusionary practices. So looking at all the different curriculum, assessment, extracurricular activities, as well as a code of character to connect with our social and emotional learning program so students feel safe, feel heard, connected, and represented in every area of our school district.
It was a great, I'm sorry, really terrific group of people. We had many Sachem employees that, they're given their own time. These are dedicated people that really believe in this cause. And the students that came, really terrific. So I'm excited about that committee.
Okay, brings us to any other discussion about committees? No? Okay, brings us to closing public comment. We have a couple of visitors today. Rebecca Sanchez.
There we go. I actually, without knowing what you were going to talk about, that you went to the Sachem Marching Band Friends and Family thing. I'm very happy to hear about that. As a parent of my daughter just joined this past year. One of the major things, it might seem minor, but it's not promoted in the schools. It's not even listed on the website as a club and or sport. So I was hoping that, as you mentioned, redoing the website and everything, if we can add that listed anywhere, that would be great. Because we have trouble enough recruiting for them. If there's any information on it, maybe a link to the video from their competitions, a list of like when it starts, where they meet. And this isn't school specific because both high schools and even middle schoolers aren't invited to join, and they don't have to be in band. They'll be given, a saxophone and say, here, go learn and play. So it can be any student to join, and they work hard, long hours, late hours on this. And I really hope that it can be more supported from the board and the administration. And especially in light, I know there was like an issue that happened at the homecoming at East where they were booed, trash was thrown at them by some spectators. So I think more support would help them feel better about being part of that program.
It's amazing that I talked about tonight going to that, and you wrote this.
I did. I had no idea you were going to. So I actually really appreciate you attending and shouting them out. So thank you.
I don't think that's a difficult request. Getting the word out to get more kids involved in that should be something that we could do. No problem, I'm sure.
And like I said, you don't have to be a band member. So it's really open to any student. I'm pretty sure 6th grade and up.
That's an easy request. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question? Sorry.
Yes.
So I've gone to, when you've done your competitions, like the home competitions, I couldn't go this year, but is there any way that you could put the link, like where people can see your show? That's something that's shareable. Like, do you have a marching band page or
so we
Facebook
have
page?
We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. We use the band app for our own internal communication and scheduling, but I can talk to the other parents and committee.
Because if there's a link, so like my nephews in marching band up in Victor, and like they won, like you guys have,
right.
But on their Facebook page, like they share all their performances.
Yes.
So then like everybody in the school shares it and the teachers, so you actually can click on and see the live performance, because I don't think people realize, like, I had never been to a marching band performance except at like a football game.
Right.
Very different when you go to the competition.
Absolutely.
And see the baton and
the color guard. My daughter's in color guard, so yeah.
Losing my words. But when you actually see it in person, there may be kids that aren't musically inclined, but there's so many other things that are
ways
a part
to get
of
involved.
it.
Yeah.
That I think,
actually, unfortunately, our home show this year had to be canceled
I
due to
know,
rain,
I
which
know.
it didn't even rain.
I know.
That's why
It was
I
more
Yeah, we
rainy
were
at
there.
the family and friends night, which is why we had that.
Yeah, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
But I think if people, along with all the students, actually saw the performance and saw it's like what you see on a college field before, a game or at halftime, I think that would sell a lot and get more students interested too.
So maybe if we have a link on the website connecting to the social media links. And then I'll talk to the board about maybe uploading the videos.
Yeah, if you can upload.
Or at least see a schedule.
Right. If you go
Yeah.
onto Victor Marching Band, and you go, they have all their performances you can see. And my nephew's been playing with it since he's in 7th grade. And it's just amazing. But when you actually see the performance, you're blown away.
Absolutely.
So
thank you.
Very talented. And I know all the hard work that goes into it. But I think that would be a big selling point for students that maybe don't realize what it actually is.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you.
I think we're going to do this one together. There was a request. Ms. Farrar and Ms. Volpe, you guys want to do it together? Okay.
Board of Ed trustees, Dr. Pelletieri. I actually reached out to Meredith to ask her to speak with me tonight, which is kind of odd since we typically are on opposite ends of many issues. But I asked her because we both agree that the Board of Education committee selection process for committees this year, or in some years, really prevented full participation of the community and allows Board of Education trustees to use personal bias when deciding who gets to participate and on what committees they get to participate. It's because voting is done behind closed doors in executive session and uses the executive session privilege. For many years, parents and community members from all political, socioeconomic, educational, and career backgrounds have come together to work on Board of Education committees, often participating in more than one. For some, it's a stepping stone to running for the Board of Education. For others, it's a way of volunteering their time, expertise, or passion around a certain topic. For all, it's a way to make Sachem a better school district and focus on what's most important, children's education. However, this year, voting for committees took months longer than it was supposed to, without any explanation, really wasting months of committee work. And for the first time, volunteers were asked to resubmit their applications with no explanation given. In addition, committee volunteers were told they could only be on one committee. For many of us, we've actively participated on multiple committees and for many years. Why would the Board of Education want to limit community members' participation instead of encouraging more participation? We often hear that Sachem wants more engagement, more parental involvement, and yet this year we were told, we want you to do less.
It has become obvious that some BOE trustees use executive session as a way to debate their own personal feelings about a person instead of the merits of volunteers' application, without allowing them any opportunity to know why we are not supporting them for certain committees. Why else would such discussions be done in a private room? Of course, Sachem's staff, contract, and legal issues are bound by executive session privilege, but we could find no bylaws where Board of Education community membership must be done behind closed doors. Our only conclusion is that you do not want your own votes for individuals to be known in public. You vote for BOE president in public, surely community members deserve the same respect. And should we really be limiting our community volunteers to only one committee if they are qualified and interested in participating in two? BOE trustees can participate on multiple committees, so we feel that you are not above the same exact rules as the community members. It is time that the BOE show transparency and hold all discussions about all committees in public sessions. And we ask that a BOE trustee consider a motion to lift the ban on multiple committee memberships so that the community can participate the same as the trustees can on committees. With that, also, I just want to add that I had put in an application originally for multiple committees. I was put on the BAC. And then when Laura had brought up the legislative discussion. I reapplied for the legislative committee, and I was not chosen for that committee. I don't know why we're limiting how many members could be on a legislative committee. Nobody's informed me of any way that I was on that committee.
Actually, yeah, actually, I just want to, you actually put on a legislative committee before the BAC committee, because Ms. Slattery did actually make that motion to actually put the people that signed up for the legislative.
Right, that was only two
Right,
people.
but that's not
though,
known to the
Stephanie
community.
Volpe.
I'm sorry, legislative committee, you said?
Yes.
Legislative committee.
Yeah,
The audit committee, yes, I was
The audit
kind of
committee.
grandfathered into
Yeah,
the audit
yeah.
committee.
So the audit committee you put on, and then the budget advisory committee, the Board of Education was trying to put together a plan to get as many people, individual, people in the community involved, but also wanted to, try to limit the size of the committees to a manageable size, as per the recommendation of the superintendent.
Right now, they're less than manageable sizes.
But
And
what we did was, when there was availability, okay, in those committees, based on the sizes that were chosen, it was a recommendation of the superintendent, we actually started to put people on multiple committees.
it
That's
just
what
seems
we
to the
did.
public like you're shutting the parents out. And right now, in this day and age, when parents seem to be shut out of everything educational, not a good look.
I'm going to say I didn't put in for the legislative committee because I followed the rule that we were only allowed on one. I was also the person who advocated for 10 years for the diversity task force, 10 years. And to many of you, I'm the one who went through 3 administrations. I am also the parent of a child of color. I was not selected for the diversity task force. I don't know which of you didn't vote for me because you won't do it in public. I say everything in public. I don't talk behind your backs. You all know how I feel. I don't hide behind a closed session. No parent of a white student is going to represent the voice of a child of color the way I am. So I'm just going to say that the comments that he makes at home about things that are going on are different. So I don't think that that is the same exact voice that you're getting. And I also think it's a personal insult to me to not be on that task force when I'm the one who fought and worked really hard to be on it. So while I'm on the curriculum council, I've actually been on the curriculum council for many years, actually, as well as the guidance council, council. And I think I volunteer my time a lot. So I didn't apply to legislative because we were told we we're only supposed to be on one. So I just followed that rule. I'm just saying I didn't apply because we were told originally. So when that came around, I didn't apply for it. So I did follow that rule that said, don't apply. You're only supposed to be on one, even though some people disagreed. So this isn't supposed to be a back and forth. I know that. I'm just making it very clear that I feel that the backdoor votes should not happen. You don't vote for who's Board of Ed president behind closed session. All of those votes about community members should not be talking behind backs. It should be done in public. And so people know who's voting for who, and, be transparent about it. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other visitors? Helson? No?
Well, hey, Rob, just a point of clarification, because we actually do take the vote in public, right? Right, so we actually take the vote for the committee in
The
public.
vote to populate the committees was taken in public.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a few things. One's just a general comment. I had the privilege of joining Kathy DeVolick over at the new Burlington store over on by East there. They opened up in that what used to be, I guess, the Kmart. So I was able to attend the ribbon cutting. If you remember, we accepted the Adopt a Classroom funds for Linwood, which I guess gets divided amongst all the teachers, and they get little accounts, and they can. But I just want to pass on that I did have the opportunity to speak to their district manager, the store manager, and also the manager of asset protection. I got a little tour of the store, and during the course of the tour, I mentioned and asked, actually, do you have any Sachem students who are working there already? And she said, well, yeah, we have quite a few. And boy, she said, they're very responsible. I've had no problems with them. I know we're going to have no problems with the workforce here. And they were very excited. And I told them, I said, look, when at the end of your first year of operation, why don't you come back to the school board and tell us about your Sachem population that's working for you? And I think they may be open to some sort of works. I don't want to call it work study. That's like a college thing, but an intern
Partnerships, community-based organizations such as that, and internships and the like. That'd be great.
I did thank them right
Thank
away
you.
for reaching out to us even before they opened and doing that, as a good member of the community. So I want to pass that on. Kathy was there, accepted the check. So Veterans Day was Thursday, last Thursday. So of course we want to thank all our veterans for their service to the country, Mr. Bauman. But a lot of companies, as part of their DEI initiatives, are looking to recruit and increase their veteran populations inside their workforce. So I was hoping we can get a presentation to see if we are taking affirmative actions in hiring practices to look and favor veterans applications to get them employed by the school district. So I don't know if that would be a Kristen thing. I don't know if that would be a.
All right, so I'm going to ask the board, I mean, is it information that you could provide to us, or does it warrant a discussion? You know, is that something that, is the board in favor of getting information before we put that on?
Yeah, they could provide the information, you know, what is our percentage of population that is veteran? I know sometimes they don't disclose it. They don't have to disclose their status.
It depends upon the position that someone holds, because certain positions, there's information related to whether they've been in the service. Actually, on the professional application for certificated, it is an area that someone could enter. And in the other area for civil service, it's something as part of a competitive piece. So we may be able to cull through it, but we'd have to look. Yes.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we put on as a tentative discussion, pending information from the superintendent's office as to whether or not we have enough material to actually present for discussion? Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you want to put
I
it
was
on?
curious, first of all, what is the percentage? Maybe we're exceedingly high compared to the rest of the world. Also, the demographic study, John, we had asked about getting that done. We were going to contract BOCES.
I gave the board that proposal, but was never given any direction to move forward with it.
Then what was it, $15,000 you said?
Somewhere between 15 and 20,000.
So do you need, so can we get that on the next agenda to vote on that?
You would just have to direct the superintendent, and we would enter into a cross contract.
What data are we going to receive from that study?
Enrollment projections for the next 10 years.
I would think that would be more of a discussion item.
Well, because I want to build off that in terms of reducing class size. Budget's coming. We're going to have to budget in terms of hiring new staff, possibly for the 9-period day. We had issues within a couple of buildings this year in terms of overcrowding and having to split things after the school started. I would like to prevent that and be proactive about that for the following year, that we don't have to face that, reducing class size, trying to stay with our board goal. So I think that study will kind of help drive that decision and what our board goal will be for that. And
it's certainly easy enough to get the data. I don't know if the data would actually be obtained at this late hour in time for the budget.
Okay.
It might be for the following school year. You're going to have tremendous challenges just in building the budget to pay for the 9-period day by itself.
Right.
Not with even thinking about adding other staff in other locations to reduce class sizes or things like that. So, I
Okay.
mean, we're going to have to be very mindful of that.
So do you know how long it takes to get that study from the time you go into contract with them?
I haven't done one in a bunch of years, but it's a few months.
It is.
Yes. I mean, I probably wouldn't see it till mid to late spring.
John, when's the last time we had one done?
It hasn't been done in the 6 years I'm here, so it was probably
So
prior to the closing of.
Yeah.
It was probably done in 2014 or 15.
If the board wants to put it together just for, to gather data so we could moving forward, we can get it maybe a 5-year projection. We could do that. I mean, if the board is in agreement to put that on the agenda for approval, that's something what we can do. And
Right.
that'll provide us the information. To get the information now, to say we're going to do it now, you won't get it in time for the budget, proposal.
And something to consider, so if you go back to when we did the facilities committee and the demographers report, which went out 10 years. So if you look at those projections, he was within 50 to 75 students total for
Every
every year. And again, I think we did it 2013. Is that when we were on it,
Yeah.
Vinny? And so that was good for 10 years. So from
It's
2013.
expiring, yeah.
Yeah, this
We're
is
coming
the
up to that
first year
last
with an
year.
actual anomaly.
Right.
I mean, last year and this year. Last year, the anomaly was kindergarten enrollment was much lower than the projection. This year, the kindergarten enrollment was much higher than the projection.
Right.
I would imagine you had quite a number of kindergartners who could have started last year, who started this year.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
mean,
then,
last year was an odd, year with the pandemic.
right.
Yes, I
if
mean,
you-
so moving forward, you want to know, because 800 was like the magic number for
Right.
quite a long period of time. You want to know, is it going to stay 800? Or is that upswing to 850 going to continue? Or are we going to drop back down again?
Because
Right.
wouldn't that also drive what we do at Gate Lot as a building?
Sure.
Right? I mean,
Right.
Or Tecumseh.
So do we want to order that study and then discuss the
Tecumseh would be
results?
difficult to get back, but Gate
Right.
Lot is
Gate
available.
Lot.
I mean, it's sitting
yeah.
there. We understand there's work that has to be done to bring it up to code, but.
Yeah,
these are all
Gate,
things
Gate Lot would need a lot of work, but certainly something, if we had a year's time to plan for it, we could handle.
So-
Right.
So we need,
So is everybody okay with putting that on the agenda?
Well, wait, do we wanna order
Do we
Right.
need it on the agenda, or do we
Yes,
just direct?
it has to be approved by
I
formal
think-
resolution.
Right.
No, it's just, you would direct the
expenditure.
superintendent, and
Yeah.
I would order a cross-contract, and he would
Right.
sign it.
Yeah, but it's.
And then the contract would be on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
No,
Yeah.
BOCES contracts don't go on the agenda. They're just
Oh,
signed by the
okay.
superintendent.
Okay.
Expenditure of money, we don't have to approve through a resolution?
No, not as long as it's within the BOCES budget for the school year.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was in your BOCES budget already. If it was approved as a budget line in the budget.
Yeah, it
then
was,
you've
I
got
mean, it isn't a
permission to
budget
do it.
line, but there's always contingency within, the BOCES budget's $22 million. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's $15,000 of wiggle room
Okay.
to pay
I'm
for the
okay.
study.
All right.
I'm okay going ahead.
Are you
Yeah.
okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other future discussion
no,
items?
thank you.
No, but I just want to piggyback on that committee conversation because I don't like the way that committee conversation ended. So we received 12 applications for the diversity task force. How did we narrow it down to 4 members? I wasn't here for that meeting, so I want to know how they were selected.
Well, it was a recommendation of the superintendent last year to put 4 committee members, along with certain number of kids, certain number of teachers, certain number of administrators.
So how did we go to 12 to 4? Who selected the 4 members out of the 12 applications that we received?
It was discussed in exec session based upon.
Exactly, that was the point.
Yeah, but that's permissible under state law. It's a personnel matter.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to tell those ladies it's permissible to take committee meetings, committee members.
But
in
we're
executive
not going to do it back and forth.
Executive
but
session.
If you have a question, that was a recommendation. It was the same, actually, the number went up by 1. It was 3 the year before,
It was
with
5.
but 2 of them were alternates. Okay, the number was 3. And then what the board did was balance it to 4.
We had
So we actually
5
added-
and 2 alternates last year.
It was,
7.
okay.
I think the point being made by Mrs. Farrar and Mrs. Volpe was, we don't agree with your process. Bring it out here.
Yeah, I
So
don't agree with the
I
process
think
either.
that, again, yes, some will, some won't, but they wanted that heard and said to the board.
It should be
So the board now
transparent. We want
needs to take it into
transparency. We should
advice.
be transparent.
The only challenge is you're discussing people's personal resume.
No, we're just
and their
saying yes
attributes
or
in
no.
public.
We're putting each of the 12 members up of their applications and just raising our hand yes or no. There's no discussion.
Well, there is a discussion on skills. That's what some of these things were, right?
It's just we're reading the resume. There should be no backdoor discussion. It should
Listen,
we're
when-
reading,
wasn't
a
reading the
backdoor, it was
resume.
Listen, hold on a second, hold
We
on. a
see
second.
what we all
Guys, when
say.
when this committee was created, okay, it was created that the community members were going to do a 1-year term. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, it kept changing.
It was- it was a-
nobody. This is the only committee that there's ever an issue with because I think this board is afraid of diversity. That's just my opinion.
No.
But
Listen,
This
we're
is the
not
only committee that
going to
that's
go back and
always an
forth,
issue.
Sarah. The
the only
question was, I
committee.
remember it clearly, we can go back to audio. The beautiful thing about these meetings that there is a recorded. And we said, Dr. Terry said that it was going to be 1 year, you'd have to apply every year, okay? And then we were going to try and put different people on the committee, get different views and different, perspectives. And that's exactly what we did. And it was 3 plus 2.
It was 5 plus 2.
Well, I mean, I could look at my notes, but it was 5 plus 2? Okay. All right, and that was, the recommendation.
And now we went
superintendent.
down to 4.
Once again, I think people on the impression it was 3 plus 2, but if it was 5 plus 2, I apologize. But the thing is that to say that there's improprieties or, that's not really an accurate picture.
It is an accurate picture
Well,
when
that's
it's 4
your opinion.
members.
That's right, that's your
They
opinion.
limit community input.
Anyway, all right, any other future discussion items?
Just to follow up, so maybe on a future discussion item, the facilities committee that we had the one time when our backs were against the wall, our enrollment was declining, and it was like a push to close schools. There's a facilities committee that's a standing committee in Smithtown that looks at numbers, and that's like their charge. So they have, if everybody can go on, or I actually have a printout of it, it's something. So as Sabrina said, we're not stuck, at a last minute seeing like differences in enrollment. So Smithtown actually has a committee similar to a budget advisory committee or anybody else that reviews a demographer report, sees the blips that John is looking at, or different things or changes, or, you know, our demographer's report is going to be outdated in another 2 years. Should we look into getting it updated? How close was it? So it's maybe something that we can consider for the future. And Sarah, just to follow up, because I know you weren't here, the board majority voted to limit the number of community members. I was not for it, you were not for it, but the majority of the board voted that way. There's nothing anybody can do. And I think the discussion of people we have to have in the back, and maybe future discussion, if you want to vote then on the people in the front, like who we're actually voting for a committee, maybe Chris Clayton can advise us on that. Any discussion about why we would or wouldn't want would have to be done in exec session, because I don't think that should be live streamed to our community. But then if we have, like we had 10 applicants for one committee, and we were just cutting one off instead of going from 9 to 10 on that one committee. So that could be a vote in public. I'm voting this one, this one, this one. I would have raised my hand for all 10 because I wouldn't have believed that. And then maybe in public voting out here, everybody else would say, why are we just cutting that one? Let's just approve it. So in that case, that could be something that we could discuss. Not everybody's going to agree. Again, I'm in the minority. I've been on committees for 20 years. I've never, ever, ever been shut out of a committee. I go, I do my work. It was my stepping stone to running for the board. Not everybody will agree with me, but that's how I got involved, and that's how I learned. To limit our community, I've been against it from the beginning. This is a way to compromise. Board only wants 9 people, but we'll have 10 applications, 15 applications. We'll discuss it in exec. But then in public, let's raise our hand and let our community see, so it is transparent.
Listen, and I'm going to go back to Mr. Cannon, because, Mr. Cannon, I got on the board right after Mr. Cannon. It was 2006. When these committees were formed, okay, there was a charter, okay, there was a set number, there's term limits, there was guidelines, there was guidelines, okay, there was guidelines, okay, and there were term limits, okay, and after 2 years, and if somebody missed more than 2 meetings, okay, we'd call them, we'd make every attempt to call them, and then we'd replace that person. What the board used to do was break up into groups and say, Vinny, you and Mr. Cerny are going to take care of the Budget Advisory Committee, looking at the resumes and looking at the strengths and weaknesses and picking the best candidates for that committee. Mr. Kiernan and Ms. Pickowicz, you guys are going to take the Legislative Committee. People that applied for it, we have 9 spots. Look at the people who have the background, experience, maybe the skill set that could be beneficial. And that's how it would happen. That's how it would happen. And I know that, it was going back to 2006, but I remember meeting in groups, okay, as a board, okay, and you selected committees. 2 people to a committee would select the committee, and 2 other board members.
So there was always 9 people. That was the limit on a committee?
They would limit the size. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a hard set 9, but we have had some committees that were larger. Okay?
Right.
But they grew larger, but we did set standards, okay?
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, if 10 people apply, why wouldn't we just take 10? I'm just asking.
Then what if 11 people applied and the number's 9?
So-
Then we just take
so-
11?
Yeah.
And then 15 people applied?
Well,
and we
how
have
many were on
9?
your budget advisory committee last year?
Well, probably about 8, 9. We had more names than people showing.
Correct.
Right.
And that's my.
But the thing is, if all of them showing, in 2006, we would have meetings that were very, very spirited. Okay, and I think Mr. Kiernan remembers that sometimes a large number of people would end up in disagreements and fights. Okay, within the.
So I'm conceding to you, the board majority this year only wanted 9. Again, next year when we form committees, we can again have that vote.
We can have a discussion.
And have a discussion. And Sabrina, Matthew, and I will look at curriculum council and see, Erin, how many were there supposed to be last night? I know. Like, let's say there were supposed to be 40 people between students, staff. Yeah. So if we had 9 community members and only 3 are showing up every time, that's where the problem comes in, because you want more community. Because again, from the students, the parents that we heard from, that's what's going to make that committee better, in my opinion.
Any other board discussion, Ms. Kieran?
Yeah, I think everybody knows my position on this, right? I've made it clear in the past couple of meetings. I support no limitation on the number of people on a committee. So as far as what the past goes, Mr. Scavo, I'm not disputing with you because I really don't remember how we did it back in my day. But I think today's type of atmosphere and transparency needs, that's why I'm so adamant that we shouldn't be handpicking anybody. Should let everybody get on a committee.
Just to clarify on that, I pulled up that email that I'd sent the board back in July from the manager of school planning and research at Weston Suffolk BOCES. The first year survey for the full demographic and enrollment study is a $24,775 cost. And in subsequent years, updates would be $16,087. So. No, in other words, if you do it, you do the first year, it's the $24,000 cost. If you want it then the second year, it drops to $16,000. You know, some districts do it, you know, every year, every other year, every 3 years. You know, we haven't done one, 7 or 8 years. So I'll get on that tomorrow, and I'll get Dr. Pelletieri cross contract, and we'll move forward with it as quickly as possible. Yes,
it is. Okay.
And just one comment, Rob, on the legislative committee, we only have 6 community members, so there's still 3 open slots if we're adhering to 9, so.
Okay.
You're on it at the last meeting. Yeah.
Okay. We have no exec session tonight, so I need a motion to adjourn. Ms. Reynolds, second by Ms. Slattery. Wow, that was quick arms. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. I didn't sign anything. I'm gonna have to stay and sign stuff. Well, yeah, they had to need this stuff signed. Yeah, so I'll sign it real quick.
An email to find out what happened was when I wasn't here.